Okay, here we go. Can you hear me now? Very good. So now I think the sound is working. Very good. So let's see. At this point, White has most of the territory, and Black has this big wall in the center of the board. It's supposed to be good for White, but it is a game. There's still a lot of dangerous stuff that's going to happen. So I wouldn't feel completely comfortable with White at this point. And they've been playing really fast up to this point. And hello, everyone. Hello, Rick. Hello, Odin Master. Yes. Yeah, yeah. Little blip with the sound there. So let's get back to the beginning. And I think I have time to show you the opening because this is about the time where they're going to get slower in their playing. So we go back to the beginning. This is actually the same opening as the first game of this best of three. So up to this point, it's the same. And you might recall in that game, in game number one, White played here. And I was talking about how when Black takes this Joseki, if White crawls here, White needs another stone, and the stone at one is a bit too close to all of those stones on the left. But if White leaves it, there's still the bad agi of Black playing something, so playing something like this. So White 1 is not in the optimal place. So it works better for White if that stone at 1 is either one space closer, or even if we assume Black's going to go into the 3-3 point, it could be one space further away, and then it would be worth White's while to play this move and have a solid shape there. So it's a kind of a dilemma there where White, if White is one move further away, White can play this way and add one stone, have a fairly balanced shape. Or if White is one space closer, this works also. In which White already has a stable shape and can play some kind of extension towards the side. The problem with this is that we don't know for sure whether Black is going to we don't know if Black is going to jump into the 3-3 in every case. So, for instance, if White plays this one, this is the game move in this game, and Black pincered here. So Black's not necessarily going to jump into the 3-3 point. And I think if White plays further away, it's more likely Black's probably going to play something from that stone, either this way or maybe to play the double card. So it's the way Black plays is going to change because of that. So that's what we're seeing in this game, where White played the tight pincer, Black plays here. If White plays, if White plays on top of the Black stone, Black can still wedge, and the ladder favors Black. So when this ladder favors Black, this is going to be good for Black. And White can play on the outside, but it's hard to say what this wall is going to do. So it could be something like this, but White has a wall that's sort of pointing in the wrong direction, even if Black just does something like this. So White's not so happy with that wall. White could play something like, locally White could play something like this. This would be a kind of a normal looking move. But it's okay, I think, for him to play away as he did in the game. And now Black jumps out. So with that extra stone on the side, Black can fight strongly here. Up to this point, it was pretty normal. Yeah, it's 1-1 now. Yes, that's right. Okay. So here, there's all sorts of choices Black had. The lower side is big too, so when I looked at it with Katoko, I was seeing moves like this as oops. Let's do it with the Black move. Black move. Here, yeah. So I was seeing stuff like this on the lower side also as potential moves. Or in the corner, the normal way would be to play a 3-3 point and something like this. And white would continue maybe on the outside. Various moves white has on the outside. So that would have been normal. Playing this attachment, and they were really fast in this fight. This seems maybe they had had some kind of research here, because it's not the kind of thing that you would just play offhand and play so quickly. So here, this is a Tesuji that black has. H17 instead of K17. K17 would probably be too far to the right, but as I was showing you, white did have a number of various choices for how to pincer, and the way black answers that is probably going to change in every case. So it's hard to say whether the one-space pincer or the two-space pincer was better, but my guess is that since Park lost with the first game in which he played the two-space pincer, maybe just decided to try something different. Yes, and I agree with Go Baduk, who's saying they seem to have this whole sequence prepared. The black move here is a Tesuji that happens in the corner. First of all, white is making a double threat here. So if black plays something on this side, white can capture these stones, obviously. And if black simply protects that, white can capture these two stones. So black seems to be losing the race to capture, and the game move is the Tesuji that you use to get out of that problem. So when black plays here, if white pushes through, black's going to get the forcing move here, and we'll be able to escape. So this looks like it could be bad for white. Yes, maybe a one move win for black. So yeah, so that's the idea here. Let's get back to the game. And they very quickly played this sequence. White's attachment here, it's sort of questionable whether it's good or not, but the speed that white played that sort of suggests that he had some ideas for that move. So when white plays the Tari at D2, that's extending white's liberties. So now black cannot win the race to capture in the corner. For instance, if black fills the liberty here, white's going to win by one move. So yeah, that should be fairly obvious that white wins here. So black has to escape in this direction. And if white continues on the outside, now black's going to, well, you could say black's going to win. It's actually, this variation is a ko, because white can throw in, and throw in. And this is going to be a ko, because if black connects everything, trying to avoid the ko, it's going to be a worse ko. So black would then maybe play away. Locally, black could play here and play a ko threat. It's usually better for black to do something on the outside, and it's still going to be a ko. So yeah, it might be better for black to fight this ko, even though it's not direct anymore. Black 14 is worth it, probably. So white answers in the corner. So this is completely alive in the corner. Sort of difficult even for black to play any forcing moves, but I'll get into that later. Okay, yeah. Yes, the game has slowed down. I'm only missing one move so far. One or two moves. So white pulls back. So you can see how that attachment at J4 was sort of working there. Okay. Yeah, so here white is going to make a life on the upper side, and the fight in the center of the board is sort of even. So in the upper left corner, if black goes down here, white can answer here, and it's alive in the corner. So even if black at some point plays here, It's still alive. It's not as if black can get to this point. It's just too far away. So it's going to take a lot of doing to get some forcing moves against the side, for instance. So in the game, let's see. Get back to the game. Black played on the outside. So if black plays a local move like this, white's going to be alive on the side here. So that's alive, and it's going to go back to a fight in the center of the board. Instead of doing that, black tried to use that extra tempo to get something in the center. So he's sort of, for instance, I think he's thinking of doing something. Let's see, the ladder favors white though, doesn't it? I think he's trying to fix something up on the side there. Let's say white does this. Black would like to have something like this. Maybe it doesn't work. Probably doesn't work so well. So black could be just playing the normal variation where he ends up playing here anyway. So it could be turning into this variation. And something like this. Instead, white added its own. So this is really trashed black's territory on the upper side. Black's potential territory, you might say. That's about 8 points for white in that area. So when we look at this white territory, it's sort of like this. So it's a territory like this, and at some point there's going to be a white stone somewhere around here. So that's 8 points. I would count it as 8 points of white territory. For the time being, it's still an approximation. White has about 5 points in the corner and something close to 10 points in the upper right. J4. Okay. Brandon Moore is asking what happens if white ignores J4. He probably means what happens if black ignores J4 and takes the corner. Let's take a look at that. So black could have taken the corner, but how black takes the corner is actually, it's kind of a headache. Because if black takes it, black has 2 ways to take it. If black takes it this way, white's getting an extra forcing move there, and potentially can cut black off here with pushing through on the second line or the fourth line. So black would probably do better capturing it in this direction. This is captured like this, but white does get these forcing moves on the outside. So this is going to allow white the option of protecting this group on the left also. So it's sort of annoying that black might get something whichever way black tries to capture the corner. And white's going to get something on the left as well as something on the top. So it probably was an option, but probably not so satisfactory for black. And they're playing so quickly, I would assume that they think they know what they're doing. Yes. So here, so black has used the tempo to protect the center. H6. Okay, what if white pushes at H6 and pushes black so he cannot link up to H7? Leonardo is asking, what if white plays H6 and pushes black so he cannot link up to H7? Maybe at this point, but black can cover. So after black plays at H7, it is linked up because black can cover here and like this. And in the process of doing all this, it's probably going to be bad news for, well, black can even connect here actually. So this is probably not working so well for white. In this case, white could capture these stones. Black would play something like this maybe. And white would need one more move to live on the side. So maybe even black gets to play this one. And white would need one more move there. So this would probably be okay for black, whether black does something like this or something like this. This is better than the game because black's connected up there to make some territory in the center. L3 is brave by amateur standards. L3. Yes. Okay. L3 is the target 12 though. I wonder if Stefan is talking about the white move or the black move. Oh, the white move, this one. Yeah, L3 is brave by amateur standards. It's a huge move though. So it takes away all the potential, most of the potential territory for black on the upper side. And it is strengthening that white group, makes it relatively easy. Makes it relatively easy for white just to handle the one group in the center. Might look dangerous. Okay, I'm broadcasting on Twitch also, so those of you who prefer Twitch, you can go over to Twitch, and it's something like my third day on Twitch, so you can tell me what I'm doing wrong there. And the center is actually, it's okay, because black surrounds it here. And white could have lived even just pushing through here. White has potential to capture that one black stone and make a living shape. But he was very careful. It was sort of typical of Park that he is doing it very solidly with he's not going to make any mistakes here. He's very careful. So at this point, white's already alive and plays away. So if black plays here, white just has to be careful to keep it divided into two spaces. So that's the basic 2i thing. If white gets greedy and plays here, then black can play here. And this is going to be more like a seki. So let's see. This would be a seki. Yeah, it wouldn't die, but it's a seki. So the territory goes away. If white plays here, white has 6 points. If black plays here, white can play an Atari and make an eye this way. So that's alive. This is also alive. Black can't save the 2 stones. So it's already alive, and it's a 6-point territory. White has 5 points in the upper left corner. Black, and about 8 points on the upper side. So that's 19 points. And then something close to 10 points in the upper right corner. So it's approaching 30 points. And then white has this position on the lower side, which you would usually call about 10 points. So if we say that it's something like 40 points for white, black probably has about 25 points on the left side. So white's 15 points ahead in the basic territory, and black has to do something with the center of the board. Okay. Sente and cutting points. Yeah, so this was good for white, and at this point, Katago was giving white a good winning percentage. Okay, we're pretty much caught up with what I was doing before. Black plays here, standard sequence. And this is something you see sometimes. So basically, if white just plays... It's a strange order of moves, isn't it? You see this more often with the double hane. But if black cuts here, it's going to be the same variation anyway. If black cuts here, black does have to add a stone to capture white's stone on the second line. So probably something like that. And in this case, white can probably fight very strongly with this. Okay, CookieBot82 is asking why, according to Katago, white has a pretty sizable advantage. So why did that happen is basically what the question CookieBot has. And it's, my take on that is that it looks like if we believe Katago and say that this is a huge win for advantage for white, probably pretty close before Komi, it means that Park had a better research of this particular variation. So if we just quickly go back to the game position, it was actually started by Shin Jinseo when he played this move. So this was kind of a challenge with a move that maybe he thought he had researched more than his opponent, And you might notice that white was playing very quickly also. So white had researched this also. Park had researched it also. Maybe his study of this position was more accurate. Um, it's the first time I've seen this actual variation being played in a professional game. And that could just be that I haven't been studying it, but I'm seeing this for the first time. And so it could be something new in which Park just had a better idea of what he was doing. People play new moves all the time, yeah. And usually they have the idea that they've worked it out. But sometimes you can have a better, someone has a better research. So here white is cut on the second line. This move could have been here, in which case, I mean, it could have been here, in which case black will cover. And again, white would probably extend here. Maybe a fight, something like this. It's not as if black's going to lose that group. So this would be a fight in the center of the board. Maybe that's what black wants to do in this board position. So white cut. Okay. And black played an attachment here. So this is the kind of probe move you see a lot, even locally in the lower side, but it's actually a ladder breaking move, if I'm correct. Yes, it is a ladder breaking move. So enabling black to capture that one stone in the ladder. Okay, Brandon Moore is asking, does black have alternatives to f7? So that takes me back a little bit. I am sort of behind the game, but that's not a big deal. Okay, that's, at this point, black jumped out. It's a very natural move. I'd say the alternative would be to play a diagonal move here in the center. So maybe black could have played here. I'm not quite prepared to say which would be better. So if black plays something like this, I mean, if black plays something like this kind of move is usually overstretched because white can play things like this and get a cut with sente. And actually white might even play that one. And so this is usually a very dangerous way for black to be playing here, in which black has a lot of danger right and left. So black stones are going to get into trouble. And if black loses that group on the left, so at this point, even if black starts to get moves towards the upper side, the left side here, if black loses that group, and you can see black is going to lose it if something like this happens, it's going to be bigger than the upper side. So that would probably be bad for black. So it's probably too dangerous for black to do that kind of move. And the one alternative that I would suggest for this move would be to play here. And it's probably a small difference. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if white plays here anyway, and plays here anyway. And there's not going to be a decisive move in the center. And I sort of like this move, but I can't say for sure that it's going to be better. So that's my answer to Brandon Moore. The Kosumi does seem interesting. I sort of like the Kosumi better. It's got more space for black, and it still has the potential for moves like this that would put pressure on white on the left. But they were both still playing very quickly here, as if they knew what they were doing. And, you know, there are both have been world champions. So to a certain extent, they do know what they're doing. But that doesn't mean that if we study it with a computer, we might find that they were wrong in this case. So this was white gets a life. Yeah. And black could have left it here. I think it would have been an idea for black to leave it. Since the group on the left here, even if white extends. So let's say black plays, actually I saw this move suggested. So if black plays something like this, even if white extends here, that group that black has on the left is already alive. So even if white plays here, and here, it's still alive. It has enough space. So that group on the side is alive. It means that white's just played 2 moves and is now ready to play a 3rd move against that group, and it's still alive, which means that white 4 does not have a direct threat against black on the left there. So black could have played away, but he chose to play very thickly, very strongly there, to make a kind of a wall, and white gets to play the extension. So it's sort of difficult in this game for black to see how he's going to use this wall, because with white's extension, white has a relatively stable position on the lower side, and everything else is alive. So white doesn't have any weak groups for black to attack. Black doesn't have so much space in the center. And of course Katago was giving white a huge point score advantage. A huge score advantage, and something like it was something like a even before Komi. But from the human point of view, it's still undecided, I would say. There's so much space in the center, and black has opportunities to dominate the center. It means it's going to be difficult. I mean, there's still a lot of stuff that could happen. So this was a ladder breaking move, and white answered here, and then here. So that wasn't a ladder breaking move. So the one move locally that white has to be careful of is this one. And white's going to connect here. And I guess that extra altitude, you might say, is what's making it work for white. Black doesn't have a ladder. And black doesn't have a ladder in the other direction either. So white would just capture these stones. So that's not working. Black can probably play something like this and escape. But it's not going to be worth it, really, even if white just extends here. White has a net in the center of the board. So usually that's not going to be very successful for black. Extending somewhere or something like that, locally it's not a satisfying move. So black switches back to the other side. So the ladder is now... Is the ladder already good for black? It looks like the ladder is already good for black. So that's what that was doing. Okay, the through 3-point. Yeah, so this is the better move maybe for black. Oops. Okay, here we are. Black plays a honey on top. White cut. So this is white's strongest move. If white had pulled back here, then maybe black can play here. At least this would be the shape move. And if white plays something on this side, black will get some extra potential forcing moves. Looking at the cut at I-17. So there's some potential there. So yeah. And if white just connects underneath, then black will be able to force here and get good shape towards the center. So that was black's idea, and white played the strongest move here. Just leaving a cut there. And white didn't bother. Okay, white played one more move in the corner. Black plays here. Okay, so we've caught up with the game. OT, O2, or R3. You know, that's right. Cyphus is asking why. Sort of basically, Cyphus is asking why black didn't play more moves in the upper right corner. And in a way, black was waiting for the right timing to choose between O2, which is this move, which is a forcing move, or the squeeze from this side. There's also the fact that actually capturing the ladder was pretty important. So if we go back to that position, if black plays this, then black is pretty much obliged to capture the one stone here, and white would extend in the center. So not only is he waiting for the right timing, he doesn't have time to do it really yet. So white, otherwise black could have played O2. That, I mean, is that O2? Yeah. Black could have played here with Sente, but this would be losing some potential on the right, so he doesn't really want to do that. It's probably not important enough in this game to play that. And it would just change how this works out. In the game, black still has the double potential there. With a forcing move. If black squeezes, or even if black doesn't squeeze, if black covers here, black does have the option of squeezing and then capturing these 3 stones. Dansu Baduk, thank you very much. Thank you for your present. Yeah, so black is looking at the option of playing on the left, on the right. The double hane at G18. Okay. Okay, let's see if I can follow up on that. The double hane at G18 on this side. It's going to be difficult for black to save the stone, and even if black does, black could maybe save it this way, but it's losing some stuff on the outside. And so in this case, it's let's see, is this actually going to be okay? Just saying it's something like that. It's sort of barely okay for black. So black's going to capture the corner, but white's going to eventually get... this might not be 100% correct, but something in the way of this. So that was Leonardo's question. An example of how reducing this white territory, maybe black gained something like 10 points underneath, but now the whole center is gone. So it's not really working out very well for black. The squeeze is more valuable for white. So black would rather be able to play forcing moves from the center so as to have some potential in the center of the board. Black is looking to try to make some center territory. And in this variation, black does have a big center there. And yes, this... Go Baduk Weichi. Thank you very much. And he's hoping that Park Junghwan can win. Well, so far he seems to be doing fairly well. Right. It was just that it was awkward for black to save those stones. Because usually you would do that in a case... So the case where it might work better, let's just go back to that position again, would be after black plays here. And if black can have an advantage in the ladder and put more pressure on white. Okay, it's not really working. So this is very... it's not even realistic. But if black can push through here to a certain extent, threatening a ladder, and then play here, so cutting white off in the process of doing this, then it would be working a lot better. This would be something that's actually feasible. It would be a trade in which black would take white stones in the corner and white would still get a net on the outside. But it's just that in actual play, it's not going to work because white can play any number of moves with 5. White could play down and it still doesn't work. Or white could play underneath like this. So it's not really working for black so easily. Even if white extends at 1. But it's sort of the idea that would sometimes work in some cases. So in the game, black just didn't do that and is trying to get forcing moves from the outside. Black is focusing on the center. The tenukis on the lower right, they are interesting. White has a lot of territory. So he's staking everything on making a big center. So let's take a look. Brandon Moore is asking about white's territory. It's a good time to ask that question. And so first to look at black's territory. Black's only territory is the territory on the left side here. And I'd say it's about 25 points. So it's a minimum of about 20 points. But it's a bit more than 20 points in what I would expect. White has 6 points in the center here, so that's this territory, which is 6 points locally. So locally, this is how it's going to turn out. Actually, White can probably leave it and still have a Seki, but in actual play is an endgame move when Black plays here. This is the way that White will keep the territory. So it's going to be a 6-point territory like this, 5-point territory in the corner, and so that's 11 points. Just since White's upper side here is close to 10 points, let's just call it 9 points so we can have an even 20 points there. And the upper right corner, it's at least 10 points. It's probably going to end up being a bit more than that. But if Black squeezes from the right, it's going to be something like 10 points. So that's 30 points. And then very roughly, White's area on the lower side, if we just count on this line here, so the very minimum, you might say, something like this, a very rough area, which is, this would actually be 9 points if we ignore all the weaknesses that Black has. So it's something like 10 points there. And the lower right corner is really not formed yet, but it's probably going to be a bit more than 10 points. So that's 20 points for the three territories in the upper left. About 10 points, maybe a bit more for the upper right corner, so that's 30. And then we add the lower side to get 40, the lower right to get 50. So White has a minimum of 50 points. And it's sort of moving on to get close to 60 points. So if you're optimistic, you would count it as 60 points. I would say it's a minimum of 50 points, plus some potential. So if Black surrounds the center, we can expect White's going to maybe get some more in the lower right area. Okay, so Black had more than 20 points on the left. And so if Black starts surrounding the center, he needs something like 40 points just to get close on the board. And so 45 points after Komi, or something like that, yes. Depending on how White fares in the lower right. So White does have some potential to increase territory. So that would be on the lower side, like if White plays something like this. Oops. So if White plays something like this or like this, if White plays something like this, you can see this whole area in the lower right area, it has some potential to expand. So White has a minimum of 50 points, but while Black surrounds the center, there's some potential that White's going to get some more. So White plays here. This is actually sort of defending the upper side. So without that move, you could imagine that Black would play this forcing move. This kind of thing. And this is not completely alive locally. It's in danger of being attacked like this. Or like this. I mean, like this. There's some potential. This is actually White's in danger of losing those two stones on the right. So this is something bad that could happen there. And you would sort of expect White to be afraid of that and add a stone here. But of course, that would allow Black to play away and have a large moyo there. So White's trying to finish that with Sente. Okay. And Black went down. This is an interesting move. Okay, it's getting fun. So with this move, what Black is trying to do is Black is trying to get another forcing move there. So if White takes these two stones, Black can squeeze like this. And let's see. Question is, can White play here? This could be a bit dangerous, but maybe White could play here. But if we assume that White can't do that, then Black would be getting one extra forcing move. I don't really see it working that well for Black, but apparently White didn't like that, or maybe he was just happy to play this move because it's going to cost Black a tempo to play there. Now black again is threatening to kill white on the upper side, so white has to be careful of that. The extra tall tombstone, yes. People are talking about prize money. It is a big bag. This tournament, even the top 16 or 32 players, a very good group of very formidable players. So actually, it's been a while before Park did this well in a tournament. He played very stably throughout the tournament, beat some strong players. It's a great achievement just to be in this final. Well, thank you, Basic Pract. I can see this late at night for some people, so yeah, feel free. The video will still be. I think it's gonna still be there. Yeah, it'll be posted on YouTube at least. I think it lasts a bit on Twitch also. I'm sort of new to Twitch, so I might be doing something wrong, but I'm pretty sure this video is gonna stay on Twitch for a while also. Okay, so have I caught up? Yeah, I think I've caught up. Yes, so black is, at this point, black is threatening the upper side. And that, yeah, even if black just jumps there. Or if black plays straight down. So let's try that variation. Oh, Thalanoff, hello. Thank you for the present. Yes, I'll bear that in mind. Yes, thank you. So if white plays away, let's make a variation here. This one would work too. This might be the stronger way for black to play. And black has a forcing move here. And a forcing, and this is, white doesn't have room for two eyes. So this is how it can turn badly for white pretty quickly if white plays away. So white has to be careful there. Just because black has so much strength in the center of the board, white has to be fairly careful. So I think the question is whether white could get away with jumping out once and looking at some kind of a net. So this would be looking at the potential to play a net-like thing here. This is a kind of a dangerous way for white to do it because it's not clear that white can actually capture these stones, and it could lead to a decisive fight in the center here. So it could be dangerous. So it would be more safe for white to do something like this, or something like this, or something like this, just to keep the eye space. Okay, Leonardo is asking how much better is spilling into the moil from the bottom right than poking in on the top. Something like M6, something like, okay. Well, as I'm saying, white's still sort of occupied with making sure that group on the upper side is alive. But if we go back to this position here, let's see, right. So at this point, if we ignore the fact that that white group on the upper side is not completely alive, then it would be more important to be playing moves like, for instance, moves like this, or further along, maybe like this, which would be reducing black's moyo sort of from the lower right area. Because the idea is that if white manages to get some territory while doing it, white's going to get some territory in the lower right. So when something like this happens, white's getting some territory of his own. So maybe something like this. Getting a territory in the lower right would make up for giving black the center. So if white had the leisure to do this, white would want to play something like one might be a bit of an overplay, but 1 or 3, something like that, on the right side, to expand that area while reducing blacks. It would be a double purpose move. But the problem is, white's not 100% alive on the upper side. So that's what all these moves were. Let's see. Oops, I didn't want to do that. Oh, here we are. This is where the game is. Very good. So the whole purpose of this whole sequence that both players are playing on the upper side there is that white's group on the upper side is not alive yet. So black's hoping to get something in Sente. Oh, white jumped out. Wow. So this is the stronger variation. And yeah, black's going after it. White could have played safe like... White could have played here and being very safe. And then covering on the top would have been gote for black. So that probably wouldn't be good enough for black. Or if black plays something on this side, white would still have this move later. So this would be the safe way to play. But he's being just a little bit more adventurous. And obviously black has this move. And it's going to get a bit more exciting. I would say white seems to be okay locally. Now white's going to win the race to capture, maybe. Let's see. So I showed you this move, in which, okay, let's make a variation. I showed you this move, in which case black plays here and here. And this move, black plays here and here, and that's going to be a collapse for white. Okay. So he chose this one. Okay, so that means black is going to play from the left. So it's going to be something like this. White does not have eye space. White does not have 2 eyes. He does not have 2 eyes, but he's going to accomplish something, I would assume, in the center. Maybe white. It's better for white to play this way. It's going to be a fight like this where white is going to try to break out into the center. He didn't want to back off. He didn't feel comfortable enough with a big lead at that point. Yes, his plan seems to be to destroy all the points that black gets in the center. So that's going to be the general idea. Okay, black played there immediately. Now, how is that one working? AI thinks black has 173. Uh-huh. Okay. So AI would have played the safe move. I assume that means by that... Oh. But W. Zhang was saying before he wasn't using an AI, so maybe he's just guessing. But that's the kind of thing that you would expect from an AI. So that would be, at this point, playing the safe move like this. I mean, this one. And yes, won by... actually, white's probably winning by a bit more, but it's still a game where everything is going to depend on how much center black gets. Okay, adventurous. I don't really see why black didn't play from the other side. It could be that black is looking at some forcing moves towards the corner. Yeah, but it's a lot easier to understand if black had played from this side and then here. This is the variation that's easier for me to understand. When black doesn't do that and plays on this side, it's sort of inviting white to play this move, which seems to be pretty effective. I'm not sure exactly how he plans to deal with that. He could be thinking of playing the wedge here. And white plus 20 points. I think that's probably more than that, but it a lot depends on what happens in the center, because white does have about 50 points. Black has only about 20 so points, and a few points in the upper side. So yeah, in solid territory, I think that's probably pretty accurate. So if black wedges here, this would capture the 3 stones. And this would cut white in 2. So that could be the move that he's sort of aiming at. G Yibe is saying thank you for streaming on Twitch. Yeah, I just started on Twitch, so it's good. Okay, white stopped black from cutting there. So that was, I think that with this move, Park is actually sort of agreeing with what I was saying, and that if white had played on this side, maybe black was going to wedge here to cut white off. So this would cut white off in the center, and white would probably need one more move on the side. So this would actually gain a tempo for black. So white moves out into the center, and white has only one eye, but he doesn't mind. So he's going to swim out into the center, and he's going to make 2 eyes. N5, N5. Yes. Oh, N5. Cyphus is, and then G2? Maybe G2 too also, yeah. So Cyphus is doing fairly well here. Cyphus had all the answers. G2 is something that black could play at this point. I sort of agree, yes. Oh, but he could play it. Since white is short of liberties, white cannot really go after those 2 stones in the center yet. Right, Stefan Kaisik said it. In the previous game, it was Shin Jinseo was white, Park was black. So it actually was black who had good luck with the weak group. So black has to attack very strongly here. He'll probably play G2. That's going to be forcing. Is it G? G2, yes. He would like to find something to do with the corner, actually, but probably doesn't work very well. And Leonardo, yeah, losing white stones on the top could work if white reduces the moyo, but that upper top area is white's one eye, so losing that area, losing the 4 stones there on the left, would lose an eye for white also, so it's probably not a good idea. The black group in K4. K4? Those 2 stones are safe. Let's talk about that. So that was a question from Sam A. Are the black stones at K4 safe? And the problem for white here is that, say black plays here, white stones in the upper left are very short of liberty. So even if white plays something like a Geta-like move here, and even if black just simply pushes through and cuts there, you can see black's about to capture these white stones. So attacking black in the center is not working. It's not going to work yet. So white really needs a stone here, capturing the two stones, before white can hope to attack in the center. And then white would have this move, which would be a stronger attack on the center. So for instance, in this case, white would be able to play a forcing move here and would capture this one in it. That would make white's second eye. Or if black pushes through here first. I'm not so sure about this one. In this case, it would sort of depend on white breaking through in the center. This looks like it would capture black. So you could see some kind of a fight like this, in which black's group on the left is in danger too. So yeah, just possibilities here. Otherwise, white could try to make a life on the left side here. So in this case, it would be playing moves like this first would of course change what happens there. So once white has played a 2, white can think of attacking the 2 black stones, but without that, whatever white does, it's just that white doesn't have enough. Black might actually play here, but even if black pushes through and cuts here, it's just so quickly that black gets to capture those stones. So I don't really see why black doesn't play g2, but he might be sort of hoping for something that has to do with the corner. So for instance, if black plays here, this is a forcing move against the corner and stuff like this. As far as I can tell, it doesn't really work very well. So when it doesn't work, it's probably not so good. But it's the kind of thing that black would like to have there. And just that the corner is such a strong shape, it's just not really working. I think they've played fairly quickly, and this is what could be a decisive fight. All right, yeah, Spinkyo 36 has been thinking that white netting 2 stones doesn't work unless black has given white I2. Exactly. So black is going to does need a total of 1 move locally just to get rid of the threat of living on the upper side or capturing 2 black stones. Okay, Sam A is saying, can white afford to sacrifice the 4 stones on the top side? And that's these 4 stones on the left here. As far as territory is concerned, yes, but they're sort of like, they're the base of that white group. Those are the stones. Capturing the 2 black stones is what gives white 2 eyes. I mean, 1 eye there. 1 eye is pretty important, like it's 1 step away from getting 2 eyes. So having that 1 eye is what makes, for instance, if we have a variation like this, that's what makes moves like this or this, they're all forcing. Like if white does stuff like this, capturing the 1 black stone would potentially be, it would be a ko sort of, but not a ko that black can win really. This would be too dangerous a ko for black. Black's in a Atari already. So it would be a way for white to make a second eye. It all depends on white having that 1 eye on the top side. So all these extra forcing moves, the fact that if white gets a shape like this, white's going to have 2 eyes. It makes it pretty important for white to be saving those 4 stones and capturing the 2 black stones in the process. It's just very valuable for white to be doing that. So I don't see white, the territory is not so big, but capturing the 2 black stones to make 1 eye is important. Yes, TLS is giving us the time, and it agrees. This time it agrees with the server here also. So they both have about 1 hour left. They started with 2 hours, and they both have used equally their time. We're 110 moves into the game. Okay, black played away. Black just didn't have a very convincing attack, I guess. Okay, how about moving F2? F2, aiming at, yes. Okay, that's an idea. Um, yes, so let's make a diagram for that. Um, if black plays, okay, let's do it with a black stone then. If black plays here, this does threaten to kill the corner. So that was Odin Master um, telling us what about this move. And if white plays on this side, this will kill the corner. If white plays on this side though, white can play here and then live. And otherwise, if white plays here, this is probably okay also, because white can capture these stones. And has enough liberties to make it work. So this would actually be a ko. This would be a ko because black would be able to play a ko on this side. So there's some stuff there. In actual play, white's probably going to answer on this side. And it doesn't seem to work quite that well for black. It could be an option though. Black would need to put a stone in here anyway to protect. So it's pretty much the same thing as before. And on this side, like that, yes. So on this side, it's going to be something like this anyway. Black probably needs to play here anyway. It still doesn't look like black can kill the white group. But yeah, this is getting closer to something that that might work. So stuff like that is probably what he's trying to look at. And just in any case, it's still going to be very difficult to kill this white group. So he's starting from a distance with this move. This was forcing. The problem is the moment black plays something that is not forcing towards the lower side, for instance, if he plays something like something soft, so something like this, the moment black does that, it's going to be okay for white to start adding stones to the group on the upper side. F2, G2, H1. Okay, we have something from the dance layer. F2, G2. H1. G1. F1. Not quite. Not quite. It doesn't quite work. I1. Oh, that was a I1. So H1 is here. Aha. Or this one, yeah. Probably doesn't quite work anyway. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's some Aji there though. It's sort of tricky, but it doesn't seem to work quite. It doesn't. I can't see how it works. Um, it's the one place where black was going to try to make something work. Okay, black played from the center. So this is pretty much taking away white's options towards the center, and white's probably going to find a good way to capture those two black stones. So maybe a diagonal move at g2 at this point would be normal. It's a good shape move. Okay. And white poked out again. He really wants to get out into the center, doesn't he? I think Park is trying to provoke Xi into trying to capture the whole group. It's the last chance for black to play g2. I think if black just saves the two stones in the center, white will play g2. And by the way, that corner group in the upper left corner, it's worth slightly more than 20 points. So if white is getting enough towards the center, there's the potential that white would sacrifice that group, but probably not yet. Yes, since m4. I understand that. Cyphers has been provoked to kill the group since m4. That was the whole sequence here. White is playing a dangerous game here. White is sort of provoking black. White still can't hope for the net. Let's do that variation again. So say black plays something like this move, and white tries to capture a net. It still doesn't work. You can see how it still doesn't work. So a very straightforward way for black to do it. And I honestly, I think black is trying to find something more efficient than this, so it's close to some of the moves that were suggested in the comments. But if we assume something like this, which is relatively simple, black would play that and then still has time to save the stones in the center. And white's going to try to live, pushing through into the center. White does have some stuff here. White, I don't know. Maybe white's going to start. Maybe white's going to start with this kind of move. White probably has enough space, but it's more worrying to be playing this way. I would be a bit worried with white. Looks like black's group has a way to make two eyes now. So that black group on the left, you do have to think about the black group also. So if white somehow manages to cut at this point, it's obviously not yet. But if white does manage that, you have to take in the fact that black seems to have something like an eye there, and something like an eye in the center, and an extra potential eye here. So it does look like black will eventually have room to make two eyes. So that's something that's pretty important. You have to be checking that. Okay, black played a safe move. So black is back to the idea of trying to surround the center. This makes it fairly straightforward for white to try to make two eyes, because this move has become a forcing move. So if white plays here, and black plays here, white can capture the two stones. So that indicates that white will be able to play these 2 points, which gives white a living shape. And black will be trying to make the center, for instance, something like this. And we're back to counting the territory. And white has somewhere in the vicinity of 50 points. So yeah, it's probably pretty close, actually. Okay. Let's see. It's yeah, that's the long The long view. It's the way to keep the game going into the end game. Actually, white. It might be better for white to start with the net and sort of play it as a squeeze like this. So in this case, there's a little hole there in black center. This is better. M6, M6, M16, M16. Yes, that's a good question from Rick Rubenstein. Can black go all the way to M16? So black can do that. There's going to be a price to pay on the right side, and it's not very clear what that's going to be. So if white plays something like this, at the very least, white will be able to push through here. But it could be annoying when white does something like this and tries to race the side territory. So that would be the weakness of playing at M16. Just a little bit more bad aji. Okay. He's very persistent at trying to get out into the center. It does look so dangerous. All right, so let's try that. So if we say black plays here, white plays here, and then black plays something like this, maybe here, then white doesn't have so much space in the center of the board, does he? This looks actually pretty dangerous. So if white goes after the stones in the center, that's not a seki. It's not a seki because black can make it a full seki with this move. Yeah, I would have preferred to play this one. It's so much more straightforward. I would have called this a winning sequence for white. Okay, so black played from this way. The idea is, it's the same idea. So if white connects, yes, the kosumi. Finally, I think we've got Shin Jinseo actually going after this group. He's being provoked after all. So white's going to have to play a move on the upper side to capture 2 black stones, and then black will L2. I2? I2? Oh. I'm not sure I understand that question. Alex Weavers, I2, L2? Okay, it looks like, okay, locally white's dead anyway. So white's going to have to do something clever in the center of the board. So white's going to play here, and black is going to play something like this. Okay, back to the game. Okay, so let's see. Let's just take a quick look at the territory. White has 5 points in the upper left corner, 6 points on the side at this point. Yeah, so white has to live, yeah. White has 4 points there, capturing those, so that's 15 points. 10 points in the upper right, so that's 25 points. And so I'd say let's give White 25 points on the lower side as a whole. So White has about 50 points. Black has about 20 points on the left side, and not really any more territory to speak of. So White has to live, but Black also probably has to kill White in the center. So all of a sudden, we have a decisive fight happening here. Yeah, right. The coordinates in this server are a bit awkward, hard to see sometimes. But after all, they have the games showing here. So it's convenient for me to use because the games are showing. So that's why I'm using it. Okay, so assumingly he has an idea of how to live. The black group is not alive in this case. So if White does manage to cut at H, is that H? H10. If White gets to cut at H10, then the group is not alive. So that's this black group. So something like this. If White gets to cut this black group, Black has kind of an eye there, kind of an eye here, but not two eyes. So if we say it's like this, Black, okay. In this case, Black is alive, okay. So White can't do that, but White can do this and kill it. Yeah. So that's the story there. Black does have to be careful of that. So at some point, Black would have to play on this side. Ah, that was careless, I guess. So that didn't quite work for Black. Huh. Yes, there are some weaknesses in Black's shape that are going to make it pretty tricky. Okay, usually I wish they would show point difference rather than percentage. Yeah, no, it's win lot live, percentage is better. I agree with James Sedgwick that yes, you need a winning percentage in a fight like this because in most cases we don't have to worry about the territory anymore. White does have a fairly sizable lead in territory, and it's going to be difficult for Black to get much in the center now. But you never know. Surprisingly, this kind of game can turn into an end game sometimes. Right. Yes, even in the line that I was just showing. Let's do that one again. It's difficult for Black to get enough territory for it to count. So I was showing something like this. Black does get a sizable territory there, but when White is starting with something like 50 points, and Black had only 20 points on the left, Black already needs 30 points to catch up to that. So just the potential territory there on the right side, it's not going to be enough. As far as territory is concerned, it's not enough. So it really is a question of whether Black can kill White or not, in most cases. Sometimes you see weird things happening, like the upper left corner white group dying or something like that. Tengen is black. Okay. Lenore Walker's suggesting black playing the Tengen. When there's a weakness on the left side, it's a pretty natural, good idea to do something to take care of that weakness. So white will probably extend here. Black's actually pretty weak on the right side also. So if we have black playing something like this, white playing here, you also have to worry about white doing moves like, for instance, like this. And this would be a bit of a headache. So black might be able to save the stones by doing something like this. But it's giving white a lot of forcing moves towards the center. So that's how black actually has some weaknesses on the right side also. And in actual play, you know, white's going to be playing moves like this on the way, just to make sure that white keeps the lead in territory. Okay, speaking of time, yes, Hyphus is saying black should use about an hour. He doesn't have an hour anymore. On this server, it says that Shin Jinseo has 44 minutes left, and Park has about 55 minutes left. So it's something like that. Stefan, I think he means to say that all of the variations look good for white. And yeah, it's because I think black started off badly in this game. He got to a bad start, and it's gradually moving towards desperate. Okay, he played from the right. Okay. Yes. Yes. Ikichin is asking if I will continue my live coverage of the LG Cup, and I would like to. It all depends on my schedule. I'll do my best. I am very interested in covering international tournaments. They're much more exciting, and we get to see some of the top players in the world. Maybe Hane. Maybe Hane, yes. Okay, let's try to make a variation for that. White. This is actually something that could turn, if white plays safe here, it could turn into a close game. So white plays here. Let's play this one just for, white does have a forcing move here. So for instance, something like this could happen, where white gets alive. And black is going to get more territory in the center in this case. So this is one of the cases where it actually could, we could be returning into a kind of an endgame. Yes, it's a pity that G1 isn't forcing against white's corner. Rick is talking about the Sagari on the first line. So black's move here forces white to capture here. It doesn't quite work against the corner. Oh, actually, if white had played that way, it would. Oh, that's interesting. So white actually has to play something like this. And this gives black a forcing, well, gives black a forcing move here, but then white would have a potential life. So it's not quite working. But this one was interesting. Black can play here and here. And this is actually working for black, because black can win the semi from this side. Like this. And black would capture the corner, gaining about 20 points there. The question is whether it's going to be good enough or not. It's going to make the game close at least. It's pretty big. So white might answer that here. And that will change the forcing moves white can play from the center. So in that variation I was showing, white does have to be careful about the order of moves when white does something like that. Because if white at some point plays this move early, then it's going to make that it's going to make this move more forceful. Because now white's okay anyway, I guess. Okay, so white's going to play here anyway. Doesn't quite work for black, does it? If black plays here, white can capture the 2 stones. So that's not working. Yeah, so black doesn't have anything. So now white can win the semi. Black can invest a lot. This would create the forcing move here. Yeah, so black could do it this way. I guess this actually works. But this would be after stuff that happened in the center. But so there are some cases where black 5 here can accomplish something. White has to be careful. So like now, if white plays, and black has just played a peep there. So if white plays something like this, then that's going to make this a viable move. Just because if white plays here, this becomes forcing. This would capture these stones. Yeah, so this is basically forcing. And if white plays here, black can capture this side. Yes. So actually, we finally found a variation where black's double threat is potentially going to work. So if white plays here, and black plays, let's see, the hane maybe? Now it's a completely different variation. Okay. So now it's black's group on in the upper right that's not alive. This still looks tough. It still looks tough for black because the group on the upper right is, if we assume something like this, then this group on the upper right, it's not alive. Maybe better for black to play 18 here. But it's pretty much the same story. So if we're assuming something like this where both sides are cut off, it's going to die anyway. Hmm? Yeah. Yeah, I'm getting carried away, aren't I? Yeah, and white's going to win the semi. So yeah, that was my 37 move variation there. So that's what happens with black playing this way. So if white is forced to do stuff like this, this is a bit clunky. It seems to be a bit slow in escaping out towards the center. So if it's something like this and something like this, this looks like it might even be realistically a catch for black, provided there's no problem on this side. So the real problem is on this side. So we're back into this variation again. So it's something like this, something like, and it's going to be this variation. So yeah, so this one. It's this one after all. And so in this variation where it does turn into a race to capture, the problem is that black's not alive in the upper right. So it's like this. And black would have to find a better move there. Maybe something like this. But it doesn't look, it looks like it should be working for white, but it's going to be, this one is going to be pretty complicated. Yes, maybe this way. Still dangerous for white, isn't it? Okay, up and down is saying, are they playing in person? So this is up and down from Twitch. The whole tournament was played on the net. So they're, strictly speaking, they're playing on the net. But since in this final they're both players from Korea, they're probably in the second game of this match. I saw that they were playing in the same room. So basically, they might both be playing in the same room, but they're probably playing using computers to play over the internet, because that's the way the whole tournament was set up, so that we could play international games without people having to travel. It's still difficult to travel nowadays. But since the two players are both Koreans, Korean pros, they are playing in the same room. Yes. Thanks, Gobo, for following up on a question I missed. Yes. Indeed, Cyphus, white is insisting on a showdown here. And that's what white got. Another possibility, something that just occurred to me, is that in that variation there, oh no, it doesn't work, sorry. I was thinking maybe black would play this move, but this is just terrible shortage of liberties. So in a variation like this, it's just going to be really bad. Black just dies. So this is just that exchange is really bad for black. There's a camera. W Zhang is saying there's a camera watching them. And also there's probably a referee in the room. So usually when it's an international tournament like this, it's a referee if the players are playing in different countries, there's a referee in the room for both countries. So there's two referees usually. But since they're both in Korea, there's probably just the one referee. Okay, so there's that move to capture the upper left corner. So this is actually a potential peaceful result here, where black can capture the upper left corner and could be catching up in territory. So we'll see how that works out. So let's see. Maybe this one. And if white cuts here, black can play here, threatening to capture these stones white has on the upper side. Like this. Like this, actually. And this is threatening to capture with this move. If white pushes through, black captures. If white plays here, black connects. Or if white plays here, black can capture this way. So this is threatening to capture those stones. And white has to capture. And black can kill the corner. So this is an example of how black can kill the corner. In this case, black would be putting a lot of stones inside, but, well, anyway, yeah. It does capture the corner. So filling that liberty at this point, it actually made white lose some points in the corner. But white got a better shape towards the center. White has a direct threat of cutting at h10. So it's going to be that much more difficult for black to try to kill white in the center. But black has this potential gain in the upper left area. Aha, the H1 Kosumi. I see. Let's try that one. It looks like it could work. Did I um did I miss this one? Hmm. Okay, so I missed that. Okay. So what's happening with this is black can play here. For the time being, white's winning by one move. So this way, yeah. So this way. Hmm. And still can't kill it. Okay, my mistake. So it doesn't work after all. That's a weird move. I guess it's okay. Yes. Yes, killing the corner would make the game close. Leonardo has to get some sleep. Thanks for coming. What if black G3? Black G3 now. It's not forcing. If white can get away with it, the bamboo shape is better towards the center, yes. So that was Alvin P asking about that. So Cyphus skipped his lunch break. Maybe he's in Japan or Asia somewhere. Goodbye, Leonardo. And come back to the channel and you can see it later. Okay, I'm in Japan. This is Up and Down asking what time is it. I suppose he's asking me. Um, right now let's see, it's almost 3 o'clock. And the players, let's see, and there might be an hour's time lag difference. I mean, in Korea, so they might be um, an hour off, maybe 2 o'clock over there. Or that might be China, actually. A misclick. Okay, I see. Yeah, I thought so. Yeah, I was getting confused with China. Korea is the same time zone as Japan. Thank you. Okay, Thalnath, good night. I'm pretty much focused on streaming it right now or making videos sometimes. So yeah, I guess I'm sort of shifting to that. Regis is asking, the time controls are 2 hours each. So the players started with 2 hours apiece, and at the end of that, after that, they will have 5 minutes, 5 sets of 1 minute actually. So overtime is 1 minute sections of Byoyomi. And Multi just got up in Germany. In Europe, it's early morning, I believe. Aeson is thinking maybe White's going to force Black to kill the group in the upper right. That's the least dangerous group there is. But yes, when you try to kill a group like this White group, it usually ends up that one of the Black group is going to get into trouble. So that's quite possible. Although the fact that White left Dame open in the center, so when this Liberty here, when this Liberty is open, when it's filled, there was a lot of stuff White could do to the right. But when it's open like it is in the game, White's focus is sort of has moved to the left part. So White's breaking through the left part. So for instance, if Black plays a Hane here, White can immediately cut. So that's the idea that White has here. And the right side, for the time being, it doesn't have so much to do with it. But if we get into a variation like this, where Black is, okay, something like this, and Black can make eyes, and White does stuff like this, then it can return to the right side of the board sometimes. So this can sort of return to the right side and be similar to what I was talking about before, only it's going to be worse for Black. Even if White just does this. Oh no, that didn't work. Okay, pretty complicated. Okay, I'm not sure. After all, that extra liberty at J8 is making a difference here. Okay, Black connected. And White extended. So again, it's a question of whether White can live in the center of the board. Okay, so nothing's dying, apparently. That's 15 points in the upper left for White, about 10 points in the upper right, so that's 25, 35, 45. White still has close to 50 points. Black has about 20 on the right side. Nothing has changed here. So it's not very likely that Black will be able to make enough territory in the center of the board. Black still has to try to kill White. Mm-hmm. Hmm. So this server has gives the time with Shin Jinseo having about 26 minutes and Park has about 46 minutes. It looks like White should be able to live with this group actually. Mm-hmm. Yes, it is scary the way White plays. I agree with Derek Neal in that it looks so scary for White. Um, White's probably okay though. It like all White has to worry about is White doesn't have to worry about the territory, which makes it relatively simple for White. Probably thinking of something like I12. Oh, he pushed. Okay. So that the right side, we're getting back to some problems in the right side if Black cuts here. Hmm. Yeah, I keep thinking probably White's okay, but it's still hard to read it out. My gut feeling is that White's going to be okay. Maybe even if White answers on this side once. So Black's not really connected all over. Even here, White can cut here and cut the whole Black group off. Or this would cut it off too. So Black's in danger all over the place. So there's a lot of danger associated with these Black groups. See if Black can find anything better here. Hmm. it's still not completely connected. So yeah, there's are some issues there. Let's see, where are you playing the game? It's White's turn. White just has to finish saving this group, and White will be winning. Yeah, starting with this move, I think that's what A. Salon is saying. White also has the option of starting with this move. This would be a super careful way to play. Just the idea that maybe White's going to get an eye with something like this. He has enough time. He seems to have 41, 42 minutes, if we're to believe the server. Brandon Moore is asking a kind of a deep question here. How much of White's path to life is based on reading? How much is based on the judgment of the dual weakness of Black's wall on the right and left? Exactly. Like, looking at this position for a while here, I have had the gut feeling that it should be okay for White. But it's very, very difficult to read out these positions in the center of the board. To calculate them it's quite difficult. So it's both really. It's both of those things that Brandon Moore brought up. So it's the gut feeling where you know that it's supposed to work for White. You have that feeling that it's supposed to work for White. But it's also you have to be able to calculate it. Exactly, Sammy. Yes, the way White played, sort of forcing Black to come after the White group, does have the result that Black's lost most of the center territory. So even if we look at the center of the board now, and we give Black a kind of a square territory, it doesn't look like it's going to get bigger than 20 points at this point. So that would not be enough for Black to win the game. It would not be enough territory. So the way White's played, it has reduced the center territory. So if Black had gotten a big territory, I think the most optimistic count with a line about the line 5 and surrounding it completely would have been more like 40 points. So that was sort of White's strategy in this game, was that he was probably relying on his gut feeling that this White group couldn't die. It's not going to die, is what his feeling was, and so he's playing in a way that might look like he's being adventurous, but he's feeling confident that it should be able to live. And I sort of doubt that he did all the calculations. So he's just relying on his intuition or his feeling that it's got to be okay. H13. H13 was never forcing. So he didn't really have a good chance to play it, unless he played it before the last move. That would have been his last chance. I think that's okay, because even if White plays the hanging connection now, Black playing this point is not so effective. So if we go back to this variation here, where the center is cut off, White's stones at 5 and 7 are pretty healthy because White has all these forcing moves towards the center. So White can play here. In this variation, Black's just cut off. So Black 2 is not working. It looks like it's a vital point in Black's shape, but it's not working so well. And when Black plays here, well, yeah, White has a number of ways to do it, but basically the fact that these two moves are forcing give White the cut here anyway. Okay. Oh, so that was the game move. Okay. So here we are. And the question is, how does black close white in on the left? So the shape move would be to play here, but as I was showing you, it's not really working, just because white can cut this one also. So since white can cut there, it means that after white plays on this side, it's going to be a big problem for black. This would probably kill the black group on the lower side. Well, yeah, it's not alive. And the fact that white has these forcing moves, it's going to be still complicated. And the fight sort of goes back to the center of the board, maybe. Or white could try starting with this one. And so this is actually more straightforward. Yeah. Okay, Stefan Kestic is asking, how can you rely on his gut feeling that he's going to live? Isn't that, I think, in a winning position to go for it? And the point is that if he had backed down and played a temporarily safe move, then black would have gotten more territory in the center, and it would have been a fairly close game. I think black would be losing, but like small mistakes in the end game could turn it around. So it's a choice between playing showdown in the center of the board, in which his gut feeling tells him that he should be able to manage it, or playing an endgame that's going to take a long, probably hundreds of moves, probably about 200 moves from that point. So we would be going back in the game. I can just quickly go back and show you a position, maybe at this point, where white would have been perfectly okay if he'd played here. This would have been a very safe move, and they would have had this long endgame, probably about 200 moves or something, depending on how they played the center. And it would have been grueling, and there would have been plenty of opportunities for white to make relatively minor mistakes. But since the game would be just a few points difference, I think that Kadago was probably saying that white was a few points ahead. But being human, you can make mistakes. And Shin Jinseo is very good at playing the endgame. So a lead, obviously, but a relatively complicated endgame in which small mistakes would make the difference. And so it's a choice there. And some players do choose to just believe their feeling that it's got to be alive. And their ability to read it out. And I sort of agree with that. It's supposed to work for okay. I think I showed a variation that's sort of similar to this. Oh, black played the knight's move there. Black still has the same problems as he had before, but yeah, the knight's move, yeah. So white breaks through here. Black jumps. Okay, yeah, that move works. It's the same shape as I was showing before, only I had some wasted moves on it. Okay, so if white extends here, black can play a forcing move here, and those four stones are connected. So black would be able to play here. It might be better for white to jump here or play an Atari and a hanging connection. Oh, white extended. When white extends, black can play there, yes. Okay, black's going to play. Okay, yeah. It's not over yet. So just to look at the shape on the left here, if white plays here and here, white can cut black off. So it would be something like this. Something like this. Black does have the forcing move here. And the whole point here in this position is that cutting in the center, it wasn't sent anymore. So like, for instance, if white starts with this one, black will have time to play on this side. So that wasn't sente for white. So it's going to start from the upper right area after all. Is white really going to be okay? Sammy, you're right. There is a difference between one can prove that white can live, and as a pro, I'm confident I will live. But yeah, especially as a top pro, sometimes you just have to believe yourself. Okay, so white has to find some good shape to move out towards the right side. White doesn't want to get surrounded. Okay, let's try some more variations then. I need a lot of time. So this is up and down, asking, am I confident that I could live versus Shin Jinseo if I took over here? If I had a lot of time, maybe, yeah. I think if I was out of short of time, this isn't really the type of fight that I like to do. So I'm pretty confident that I would have opportunities to mess it up. But just to show you a variation here, white's been playing. Yeah, white played a forcing move there. The question is what shape white uses to get out. So if white does something like this, it sort of looks like black can make a kind of an envelope here and capture. What is wrong with 07? 07. 07 here. Let's back up a move. If white plays here, black captures and black is all connected up. So that's what happens with that salmon. Yes. So white did play the knight's move. So with the knight's move here, if black plays here, then we're going to get back to some problems in the center. So it would be something like this, for instance. I don't know if white really wants to play 12. Probably not. But something like this would be, we're back to the problem on this side. Yeah, white didn't want to play 12. Let's take that back. So maybe something like this, in which case white would have all these forcing moves and would be able to cut black off here. So this would be a collapse for black. So it shows that that knight's move, although it looks dangerous, it's actually, in actual play, it's pretty much connected. So in the variation just now, I was showing black playing here. If black plays here, this is pretty painful for black too, already. And it's going to be very similar to the previous variation in that, well, it's going to fall apart whatever white does. But at the very least, white has some forcing moves here. This is just terrible anyway. So black doesn't have any way to cut white off there. So that's why the knight's move here looks good. And if white had played the diagonal move here, it would have been a bit, it would have been, this looks actually more dangerous for white. So I agree with this. Black crawled. One more move. Maybe an extension. Okay. I don't see any ko. I don't see any ko. Someone, Derek was talking about a ko, but I don't see it. Okay, white pushes through. If white pushes through, it's this variation. It's just not working. Pushing through this way, that ko is irrelevant. If white pushes through this way, it's not a ko. So yeah, nothing there. White does have a forcing move here, which is usually is not going to be relevant. But if white plays there, and white can get this one. So, I mean, this one. Um, so there is that. Usually it doesn't do any good for white to have that forcing move, even if black just answers. But in some cases, for the time being, white wants to get his head out towards this direction. He wants to poke out. It's still very difficult to calculate this. Okay. Cheese on head is saying, if white lives, is the game over? And I agree. I think so. Is N12 here interesting? N12, N12. That's a good shape move. Okay, so that's a good shape. Black playing here is a good shape move. And white will answer it in some fashion. Maybe here. That's a really good shape move. It would be a candidate for me. Oh, white curled around. Okay. Or were you talking about, this was Brandon Moore. Were you talking about N12 for white? Maybe you were talking about N12 for white. This would be a good shape move for white also. But it's probably dangerous, so black would answer here and would have time to back off here. And if white connects, black can cover here. That group in the upper left, yeah. So white can take away the eye here and can cut black off here, but needs one more move. Needs one, so even if black plays here. Yeah, either way. White needs one more move to cut these black stones off, and black will be able to play here to live. Yeah, so that's not working for white. Okay. Oh, so the forcing move here, he's actually using it. So this is a forcing move, and white is threatening to play this, which would be devastating. So black has to answer that. Maybe here. It doesn't really make any difference where black plays. Okay, he pushed through. Maybe it does. Okay, so black pushed through, and white's going to connect, and black's going to answer somehow. And then white's going to jump out into the center. It's exciting still. Okay. We're coming to a climax. So white's going to jump out into the center probably, unless he attaches on the fourth line. So it's one of those two moves, as I see it. I think this is a fitting climax for a world championship. So black still has the issue of this weakness on the left here, which is going to come back into play later. So that's this thing here, where white can cut off the black group here. So this is only going to work for white after white cuts at L14. But for instance, in a shape like this, where white is maybe going to play here now, and here, we can imagine that, for instance, in a case like this, we can imagine that this is going to be have something to do with the result here. Yeah, so this would probably capture black on the lower side. For a moment, I thought I might have a ko here, but no. It didn't quite work for black. Okay, okay. They're playing the same variation. So this is, I guess this was sort of like a main variation here. And it's going into the variation I was talking about. So black has to save the stones in the center now. So it's something like this. Okay. So it's something like this. White has to be careful not to play this move, because when white plays this move, it's changing what happens in the center here. So when white tries to cut black, it's going to make a snapback. This is a problem for white. So white can't afford to play the target 2 and has to make do without it, which is complicating things to a certain degree. But probably white's going to be okay without playing that move. So black still has a kind of a lousy shape there in the center. If black plays on this side, it doesn't look like it's going to hold together. So black needs to add another stone to the center here. Now black needs to find a way to capture the white stones. It doesn't look like it's going to work. It doesn't work. This is not working. No, not that way, this way. It doesn't seem to be working for black, but it's pretty close. Oh, but the game is over. Okay. So where did he resign? Oh, he resigned at this point. Okay, so who is that? Someone called it. It is over. Torb in TORBG in Twitch told me that it was over. It is over. And so, sort of like the variation I was showing, basically, black has issues on both sides. So if black plays in the center here, there's the cut here, which is, it's pretty devastating. You can see it's not working for white. I mean, it's not working for black. Whatever white does, even if white just plays on this side first. So there's that. And there's also, if black answers on this side, white has the cut here. And black will not be able to make two eyes. So I think that's the story here. And white won by resignation. Let's put the result in. Let's see, I have a result here somewhere. Yep, white won by resignation. So in the end, he did end up resigning. So Park's strategy here in, well, first of all, in the upper left corner, white was very successful in the beginning of the game. So that worked well for white, and white had a lead. But it was potentially going to be a close game. So he chose to play the more dangerous, you might say, variation in which he was forcing Shin Jinseo to come after his group. But he didn't have to play a difficult endgame. So it was a trade-off there. I sort of agree with the idea that he was relying on his judgment, which is based on a lifetime of experience, that he thought that surely he should be able to save the group. And I doubt that he had actually read out all of the variations, but he didn't need to because he had a feeling that he was going to be okay. So that was the end of the game. So Shin Jinseo is the world champion in the Samsung Cup. And I mean, Park Junghwan is the world champion. and Shin Jinseo was the second place. The whole tournament was well played, I think, by Park. And it was, I think it's his first time to win this particular tournament. But he was a world champion many times before, if I remember correctly. I don't have the figures at my fingertips, but I remember him winning world champions, I think. All right, well, thank you. Thank you all for coming. It was relatively easy, I guess, this time. It ended early, but it was an exciting game. A lot of deep reading. I got some help from everyone in the chat too. So thank you for coming. Don't forget to sign up to my channel if you want to see more videos by me. So I'll put let's put a link to my channel. A link to my channel. A link to my channel here. My YouTube channel. A link to my YouTube channel. For those of you who prefer Twitch, I'll give you a link to my Twitch channel. If you sign up, you should be getting some kind of notifications. So that's a good idea, I think. And for those of you who want to support me, my Patreon link, if I can find it. I'm so organized here. My Patreon link, and there is a teaching game tier where you can get a teaching game. So take a look at the homepage. A monthly teaching game. So thanks to everyone for staying to the end. I realize it was a late night for some people, and enjoy. It's going to stay there for a while, so you can watch the video later. Thank you, and goodbye.